Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about planning theory. We will define here what is planning theory, how planning theory is applied in different sectors of planning. So first of all, we will start with definitions. What is planning? Planning is a development of land for better lifestyle, a systematic process toward allocating resources and organizing things systematically for the improvement in the city infrastructure, improving the livability quality, control over urban development, and sustainable future for the resident of the town. So, what is planning theory? So, planning theory are the theories that governs how urban development can be done in a systematic process so as to improve the quality of life, quality of the built environment, and quality of the interactions between different users of the land. So both are related. What is planning? So the process of making plan for something or some places or the control of urban development of a local body authority from which a license must be obtained to build a new property or change an existing one. This related to land or the construction of the building. So what is planning theory? The planning theory is a body of scientific concept, definitions, behavioral relationship, and assumptions that define the body of the knowledge. So here we have to focus on definitions. These are definitions or scientific concepts which are based on some assumptions which define the body of the knowledge which is applied in the urban planning area. So we will see further theory of planning. Theory of planning is concerned with the process by which a definition is taken. Focus of planning process began in several fields after the Second World War and has evolved contributions mainly from the social and economic sciences. If you see the condition of the urban development or urbanizations, it took place after the industrialization, and after the industrialization, urban development growth was very exponential, and this led to the deterioration of the living conditions of the working class people. And after the Second World War, many of the housing was devastated during the war, and the quality of life was very poor. And the government now tried to give better housing for the soldiers. That's why the process of planning started for providing better living condition. Planning can be referred as a set of methods designed to prepare information in such a way that decision can be made more rationally. And this definition was given by Friedman and Hurston. Theories in planning. An early 1970s, Andrew Florey viewed planning as a decision-making process aimed at solving some of the various problems which planners face. He argued that planning should be rationally by evaluating comprehensive all possible actions in the light of their consequences and is ensuring that these considerations include alternative goals that planning should also respond flexibly to new situations. In planning, efforts also need to make relate operational decision to each other. So this was the definitions given for planning theories that evolved after the World War II. Planning perspective. What is planning perspective? So there can be both positive side as well as negative side of any view. When it is positive, it is the best way to promote lively dialogue and develop new understandings. On the negative side, it can be considered to adopt a single standpoint, like a dictator's dictating how a development can take place. Theories are presented as tool for good practice, not as something to which planners should commit. So it is a good practice developed over a period of time. That's why they are called theories. Planning is application of scientific method, however crude, to policy making. It means that the conscious effort are made to increase the validity of policies in terms of the present and anticipated future of the environment. And this is done by proper rational decision making by the group of planners or the group of decision makers. This might be a group of experts from different field. Who constitute the planning agency? What is the role of planning agency? So there are different agencies involved in planning and development of any town or urban area. So the advisors, consultant, and decision makers whose final decisions break the relationship between two or make a bond if come to one common decision are also termed as planning agencies. So there can be government agencies, there can be private agencies, there can be educational institutions who are also active in planning process, providing best solution to existing problems, recommending the policy related to social, economic, material, and human resources is the ultimate goal of planning agencies. And the future plans and implementation strategy is prepared by planning agency like development authority, municipal corporations, and the metropolitan planning committee and others. So what is the significance of planning theory? The assumptions is just that planners of the past faced different problems and thought differently to find solutions. For example, in 1960s, the death of life of American cities continued the image flattered and the planning establishment had to recognize in Jacobs' contribution, but the faith in rationality persisted with the rise of environmentalism. O'Hara's successor noted how ecologists admired the emphasis of comprehensiveness on the prediction and interdependence system. The debate over rationality and comprehensiveness continues today as planners and students of planning struggle to incorporate knowledge and beliefs at the time of science tells us conventional behaviors are primarily responsible for climate change and other disruptions in the environment. So planners are now taking into account the environmental concerns while planning and developing any piece of the land in the urban area. Practicing planners have known planning to be a continuous process in which the solutions of one problem give rise to several others. But we have to be rational and we have to minimize the negative impact of planning and we have to promote the positive impact of the planning. In 1960s, citizens group do more than talk. They raise money, make plans, and mobilize support for actions. So it was the concept of Kaufman. In 1965, Dayton city manager Herbert S. Terry concluded planning was too important to leave to the planners. So it need to be multi-stakeholder decision-making process. Thus, practitioners anticipated the participatory, action-oriented model of the John Friedman and others. They studied the past practitioners' lesson and their work demonstrated that belief must come central to planning for change. Even as one planner noted, the realities and rationalities of the various actors are almost mutually exclusive. This was said by Michael Rich. It may seem odd to look to the past for lessons in how to integrate knowledge and expertise into planning, more environmental friendly cities and develop a sustainable model for the planning of these cities and metropolitan areas. So, what is the paradigm? A trend, a system is being forwarded, a concept idea with time, a pattern or model. So, what do you mean by paradigm shift? When a trend changes with times, like earlier, there was more focus on providing housing, and now we are more concerned with providing infrastructure for planning purpose. Earlier, we were more concentrated on localized problems, existing problems of the inner towns. Now we are shifting our focus to the outer peripheral town area for planning of the transit corridor, industrial corridor, and others. So paradigm is an intellectual perceptions or view accepted by an individual or a society as a clear example, as model or pattern of how things work in the world. This term was used first by the US science theorist and historian Thomas Kuhn. What do you mean by paradigm shift? So this is the fundamental change in individual or society's view of how things work in the world. So there is a paradigm shift for the planning for a sustainable environment, sustainable urban development. So earlier we were thinking about rational planning process. Now we are thinking about sustainable planning process. So we are trying to make planning more sustainable for the future without disrupting the current ecological balance of the city. Thomas Kuhn, various stages of development cycle, understanding the Kuhn cycle and incorporating it into approach to help in solving sustainability problem is so crucial that they are the five main steps. So first of all, we will study pre-science, like normal science. Then there is a model shift, then there is a model crisis, and then model revolution, and then there is a paradigm change. So usually a normal process is observed, then some model is changed, like some intervention is done, and then the model has a crisis, it could not adjust, and then we have to readjust the model to evolve a new model, and this lead to the change in the paradigm. So in the stage of science, the fields have no workable paradigm to successfully guide its work. In the normal science, the normal step where the field has scientifically based model of understanding a paradigm that work. Then is model drift. The model of understanding start to drift due to accumulation of anomalies, phenomena that model cannot explain. Like earlier, there was a concept of sectoral model. Like one city will have different sectors like transport sector, commercial sector, housing sectors. But when the small towns started to increase into metropolitan towns, then one sector model cannot solve the problem. Then we had the multi-nuclei model, where a large metropolitan towns can have multiple nucleus of commercial activities and which have different impacts. So model crisis, the model drift becomes so excessive that model is broken. It cannot longer serve as a reliable guide to problem solving. Attempts to patch the model up to make it work fails, and the field is anyways. Then the model revolution. This begins when serious candidate for a new model emerges. It is a revolution because the new model is so radically different from the one. Like we talked about sectoral model and a multi-nuclei model. So multi-nuclei model was entirely different from sectoral model, and that's why for metropolitan or larger towns, multi-nuclei model is more applicable applicable than the sectoral model. Then there is a paradigm change. A single new paradigm emerges and the field changes from the old to the new paradigm, where the step ends and the new paradigm becomes the new normal science. This is the Kuhn cycle is complete. So for regional metropolitan planning, it is now observed that multinuclei will be more suitable because it will reduce the travel time from one place to another. Now we are trying to have vertical integration of the uses, like one floor can have commercial use, one institutional, one recreational, residential. So we have to work very little and have more sustainable lifestyle without consuming the large open spaces. What is espoused, adopted or support, accepted to take or support a cause, while theories in use means that what actually they want to do for the citizens. Espoused theory means that what actually planners are doing with the understanding of different theories for developing cities for people, while theories in use means what actually they want to do for the citizen. So we can say that multinuclei theory has been espoused, and the theory of use in we are moving toward making cities more sustainable, trying to reduce the travel time by incorporating multinuclei model. We are trying to develop different nucleus of the city where everything can be found: commercial, industrial, recreational, residential, or uses can be found at a particular junction, and there can be more sustainable neighborhood.